Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So we are getting into the Idaho murders. We all know who it is, okay? We know who it is. I know he was sentenced to death. He's on death row. I know he played in the face of like the television courtroom for the longest. So we know who it is, but I don't know anything about the case really. I just know that he killed some college students, and I believe he went to the same college. Could be wrong, but I do believe that. So we're just gonna jump right into it. This is during the time when they didn't know who it was. So this is the evidence they had during the time about the murder itself. It's actually crazy how people can get away with stuff for so long. Guess he tried to play it smart, but we're that's gonna be for the next video when we start talking about him. So we're just gonna hear about the case itself. So let's get into it.
University of Idaho students go back to class after the long holiday weekend as police seem to have few leads in the murders of 4 students at their home off campus. I'm Anjanette Levy, and welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. We are taking a closer look at what we know so far in the murders of those 4 students a little more than 2 weeks ago. Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle had been out for the night and were killed sometime after they returned home in the early morning hours of November 13th. Maddie and Kaylee were captured on a Twitch stream video at the Grub Truck, that was a food truck, shortly before they went home for the night. They had been at the Corner Club bar before that. Ethan and Xana were dating and had been at a party at the Sigma Chi house earlier in the evening. Here's Captain Roger Lanier of the Moscow Police Department discussing the timeline so far.
On the evening of November 12th and into the early morning hours of November 13th, Kaylee and Madison arrived home at approximately 1:45 a.m. after visiting a local bar and a street food vendor. Ethan and Xana were also out in the community at Sigma Chi, and they arrived home at approximately 1:45 a.m. 2 surviving roommates who were also out in the community arrived home at approximately 1 a.m.
Now later that morning, it was 11:58 a.m. A 911 call was placed from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones. They had actually called a friend to the house because they believed one of the people who was actually killed was sleeping and unconscious. Police say the 911 call takers had actually spoken to more than one person who was at the home at the time. Autopsies revealed that the victims were all stabbed, and some of them had defensive wounds. Others were stabbed as they were sleeping. Police have said there were no signs of sexual assault. So far, police say they've been able to rule out some people related to the investigation. Joining me to discuss the very latest.
I don't know why I thought they were all shot, because I'm like, it was quick, right? Like, I don't know if it was quick. I'm just guessing, y'all. But this person, stabbing somebody is quite personal, especially when it's like 4 people. This person became a serial killer immediately. It's just crazy. She said some people had defensive wounds. Some people were stabbed in their sleep. That's not easy. I don't know how, I don't know anything about that, but I know it's not easy to stab somebody. I guess it shouldn't be easy. But to kill 4 people at night, while they're sleeping, some people fighting back, I would think everybody will, I'm really trying to grasp this, okay? In my head, what I'm guessing, if somebody is stabbed and they hear something, everybody else get up. But I'm really curious about, I'm pretty sure if they'll talk about it, how that happened. If nobody heard anything, if it was just so quick, stabbing 4 people. I guess I would think it's somebody that they know, that's somebody that don't like them, because who could just randomly stab 4 people on a college campus, apartments, roommates? I don't know. That's crazy. Wow, I don't know why I thought they were all shot.
On this case is forensic death investigator Joseph Scott Morgan, who's been following this case very closely since the beginning. Joseph, welcome back to Sidebar. Thanks for coming on.
It's very scary.
Thanks for having me, Anjanette.
The timing of this is really interesting and kind of peculiar. This happened, a week and a half before the long holiday weekend. So Is there any way that that could have impacted the investigation? The fact that kids may have been getting ready to go home for the holiday?
Yeah, yeah. In my estimation, yes, of course it could. As a college professor myself, and living, and working in a university environment, it's kind of amazing when you have these events that kind of shake the university to its core, and it extends out. And with an event like this, you've already, let's just think about what the kids are thinking about at this moment in time. Prior to this event, they've had a long semester. They're coming to the end of it. They see the finish line. Thanksgiving is on this way, and all of a sudden, bam, this horrible event occurs. They were already thinking about leaving anyway. The floodgate was kind of open, when news, kind of leached out about this, and people were probably stumbling over themselves to get to their cars, to leave, to flee to safety, to get home. And from an investigative standpoint, this is a perfect storm. You begin to see things in a different light. You think, well, is it worth me hanging around for another day, another night, when I know that people that might not be in my immediate circle, or at least peripheral to me, have had this event that has rocked us to our core, think I'm leaving. Well, when that happens, the investigators lose a big chunk of potential interviewees. Uh, they've left. And here's the thing about doing an investigation. Sometimes for the investigators, um, they can stimulate something in the brain of an interviewee that the interviewee might not have thought about.
Did
And
a lot
all
of
of a
people
sudden,
leave
information comes out.
for
It comes
the
flowing
break
back to
already?
the police. And think about how large this university is. And I've heard estimates of, 10 to 11,000 people inhabit this small space. It's amazing how many of these individuals may very well have data contained in their brain or in their remembrances that they might, just dismiss and say, well, that wasn't important.
Now I'm curious even more, y'all. This was 2 years ago. It's crazy how like time go by so quick. Cause I remember I was in school. I remember when this was happening. I was like, oh my god. I was like, why is this so big? I was like, unfortunately, I was like, you hear about people getting murdered every day. You hear about college students getting attacked. But I guess because it was so random. You have 4 students on the like on the campus, close friends, all murdered by somebody, and nobody knew who it was. So now my questions, like they said, did it happen during a break? Because if so, that would make sense because, there's nobody there. So it's easier to like target somebody, unfortunately. And if this is true about them not leaving, so early, maybe they'll leave the next day. You could do that in an apartment. If you have the on campus apartments, you don't have to move all your stuff out. Well, actually, you don't move your stuff out for Thanksgiving break either. It's like a couple of days. Now, in college, people are so ready to go. Like when it's a break, you'll see people leave like 2 days early. Like they get out of class and they're like prepped. They're ready to go. I've seen it every time. I used to be that person. I used to be so ready to go, and then I'll just stay like it'd be some days I'll stay a day extra because I got my own dorm. I was in my own like a singles dorm suite, so I'm like I can leave whenever I wanted. So and I drove, so I'm like I will wait an extra day. It's really scary though. Now I'm curious if he was like watching them or something. This is really eerie. Like I'm actually seeing why it's so eerie, but I'm like it just seemed like it was so random because I'm now curious if the dude knew this since we know who it is now.
113 pieces of physical evidence have been submitted to the Idaho State Police Crime Lab for processing. We know those things can take some time, even though they may be putting a rush on it. So we're a little more than 2 weeks in. What should investigators know by now?
Well, I think that what they know, and this is, kind of obvious, on my part, when you begin to think about this, they know that they have something that they're dealing with that is very complex, particularly when you begin to think about the biological evidence that I've already mentioned. I always return back um, to the idea of commingling of this evidence, and I'm talking specifically about blood evidence. And also, that's layered on top of that, Anjanette, is the problem. If we are to believe what we have heard, This location was a hangout spot for a lot of kids that come and go. And I don't, there's a perpetrator possibly taking a shower at the residence and probably changing clothes with them. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but a lot of the stuff is wild speculation because people want information for whatever reason. And I don't necessarily think that it's the people that occupied Moscow, Idaho. I think more than anybody, they want these crimes solved. Um, People just have a thirst for information. And so information that's disseminated to the general public is disseminated to the perpetrator. And they can adjust their statement, when they are finally brought in for questioning.
It's interesting you bring that up because one of the things I've been thinking about is the fact that they've released information about the murder weapon in this case, or at least what they believe to be the murder weapon. And they've said that they believe they're looking for a fixed blade knife. That to me was pretty shocking because I'm listening to this press conference and they're talking about this, and this seems like a really key piece of evidence. It is the key piece of evidence in this case. It could lead you to the killer. Obviously, you want the public to know maybe what you're looking for and if they've seen something like this, but it also tips off the killer. So what were your thoughts on them releasing the fact that they believe this was a fixed blade knife? Because they were obviously probably able to tell what made these wounds, or at least the coroner was able to.
Now, if that's true, ow, because that I have to look it up to see what it is. That is a kind of look like the knives that you cut rope with. When you're hiking or something, it's thick rope, so it cuts through like the thickness of it. Ow. Dang, this dude was so smart. It's like, I'm not trying to, like, he's not smart, obviously, then you're a killer and you got caught. But, like, I'm talking about with how they didn't know for a while. I do know that it was him. I also believe it was true that they didn't have any evidence. I had to, fast forward this because the dude was just, I think he was talking about, like, the college, it was just very low. So I had to fast forward this. But, I believe there's no DNA. Like, he did this was able to do this without that. So I think that was a big part they played in court. But just talking about the case itself, it's like how 4 people dead all together. Like, how did that happen? And now it says, if that's right, true about the knife, it's like, it was so planned. So now I'm like, you have to have known these people, or just stalking people. So I'm curious if he was following them the whole night, because it was super early when they was murdered. So like, I'm like, was he following them when they was hanging out? Was he like lurking there? Like, was he specifically picking them because they was going to be on campus later? It's a lot of questions. This is actually more crazier than I thought it was going to be. I'm still on this. You have 4 people. I guess that's why it's so big. Because, like, no, it's not normal to just have 4 people dead in an apartment together. And nobody knows anything. Wow. I cannot wait till I hear about him when we get there.
Yeah, they would have been. And I was shocked. Because let's go over the descriptors that we've heard. We've heard military style. We've heard Rambo style. And more specifically, we've heard K-bar. And K-bar is a type of knife that is associated primarily with the Marine Corps. Our Marines have carried K-bar since, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I think since World War II, or maybe even before. It's a very specific type of knife. You can purchase them anywhere, though. You don't have to be a Marine to own one. And so that's very specific. Where's all of that coming from? Okay, all of these different identifiers relative to the type of knife that keeps coming up. I think the one thing that you can take away from this is that it is a single-edged weapon, okay? Because military-style knives are not double-edged weapons, where you're thinking about like a dagger, for instance. It has, with military-style knife, they have a facility to them where you'll have an edge side, and many times along the spine, that is the bulky backside part of it, you can have a saw, like saw teeth, and they're very robust looking, so that if you're in a survival situation, you can saw down small saplings and these sorts of things. Also, a military style knife.
Okay, yeah, I ended up cutting it off because his voice is so low. I don't have time. They should have had Jesse Weber do his interview. But look, it's like I kind of got it about what everything that happened. We had the 4 students murdered, stabbed to death by a unknown person. So crazy how nobody saw anything. Super early too. How is it possible that 4 people could just randomly get murdered, stabbed? But the only way I would think of is if he like held their mouths and stabbed them so they don't scream so nobody hears, so he can hurry and run to somebody else, because somebody, I do believe they said, got stabbed while they were sleeping. Horrifying. No DNA left, I do know that. They said they have a lot of evidence, but a lot of digital evidence, so it's just like, I'm pretty sure just their, like, they went a lot of places, worked, the friends they talked to, so it's a lot of people they had to go through. You gotta talk to the whole campus, people who knew them. You gotta look at a lot of footage of where they walked, where they drove, where they worked, where they was hanging out with every day. That's not easy. That's a lot of people, a lot of evidence to go through. The mention of having a stalker, interesting, because like, now she said it, they were online, but think about it, colleges people, there are stalker cases. We when I was on campus, we had the police sent a report every semester of the crimes that happened, and surprisingly we had high cases of stalking, and I'm pretty sure it was like mostly like ex-boyfriends or people that were just acting weird, or people who thought they were being stalked and probably wasn't. It was a lot of that going around, but it could be a case like that. For some reason you got like crazy young people and other people who, they can't take rejection. Some people who want somebody, but they don't want them. So it's like, it could be a case of that. I'm really curious if the dude knew them, but like, just by this, it's really eerie. It's creepy because it's like, at the time, they didn't know anything. They really didn't know anything. They had like nothing. So I'm actually really curious about the next video on how they caught him, or what evidence. I'm guessing if somebody's seen him, because like I said, we know who it is. He's on death row. But it's just how it all started is so crazy. 4 friends, and they look like they were lively students, living their life. And if it's true that it happened right before the holidays, because he did say they had to interview people after the holidays, which is not easy because people have to remember stuff. I feel like he waited for the perfect timing because people would not be around. Like I said, people on campus leave super quick. They leave like lightning speed before the date is even set. Every semester when it's a holiday, you leave like 2 days earlier. That's just what it is. People be ready to get out of class and off campus and away from other people. So I wonder if that's actually true. Dang, this is so interesting to me. I feel like it was so calculated. And I still don't even feel like this was 2 years ago. Like I said, I was a junior. I don't feel like that whatsoever. No, I was a senior, I think. Nope, a junior. This was 2 years ago, but it don't say the exact date, I think. Nope, yes it do. November. I was a senior still. Yeah, I was a senior. That's just so eerie to me though. Wait, yeah, 2022. I was a junior. Yeah, I was a junior. Sorry, y'all. I'm just trying to. Wow. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay safe, stay alert, stay aware. College students, be careful. You never know who's looking. Seriously, it's a lot of crazy people on campus. So on that note, I will let you guys go. I am going to be doing more of these. I'm going to put these on, write these out in my notepad so I can stay like, put them in order on the way I want to react to them. So I can ease up to like his trial, because we're talking about the trial. Okay, I know, like I said, I know of him. I seen the video of him getting sentenced, and that was it. That was all I knew about him. I didn't see anything. Did he even talk? I feel like the dude just tried to be very, I don't know, we'll talk about that in another video when we talk about him. Okay, so I'll let you guys go. Bye.